Good afternoon, everybody. After this lovely introduction from Gab and Pat, let's get on to this business of Singapore FinTech Festival, what it's all about. I have with me 4 guests. Janet from UOB.
Hi.
Ari from Mastercard. Irina from Rapid.
Hello.
Also, she's a member of the Singapore FinTech Association. And we have Al-Noor joining us from London live. Hi, Al-Noor. Can you hear us?
Hi.
Good. Okay. Let me put this in perspective that why this year will be a very different year for the Singapore FinTech Festival. First, we're coming to the second year of pandemic. We hope by the time we get there, things will be easier for us. But this year, the focus is on Web 3.0. Quite technology-driven focus. One of the reasons behind this, because as this pandemic was going, we were reflecting on the future of finance. And there are 3 things which stood out for us. One is, we believe the future of finance is going to be on embedded finance. We'll get somebody to speak here on what is embedded finance is all about. Second, decentralized finance. And third, the infrastructure which will drive this, whether the outcome could be green finance or machine learning or AI, will be the Web 3.0. And that infrastructure, typically, people talk about AI, machine learning, quantum computing, distributed ledger technology. There's a whole set of tech stack which will power this. So what I thought that next 18 to 20 minutes, let's talk about each of them and understand from your perspective, because you all run businesses, how does it impact you? And that will be the big topic this year at the Singapore FinTech Festival 2021. So let's start with Janet. We talked about all these big terms, fancy word. What is your pick? Where you think the future of finance is going to land?
First, let me call out, SFF has always been a great event, great platform. It's about the people, the thought leadership, knowledge sharing. And for us at UOB, we always look forward to this. And this year in particular, like what Sopnendu say, big themes, future of finance. On embedded finance, we all want to be in our customers' life. And to be in our customers' life is to be embedded in platforms, and the convergence of platforms and the bank coming together to serve and make our customers' lives smarter, better, easier, more convenient. That's a big area for UOB. The second, and of course this is the part that everybody talks about, decentralized finance. Okay? The whole idea of central bank digital currencies, where it's going, the entire thought leadership, what it means for regulators, companies, banks, users, businesses. I think that is a deep, broad topic that everybody is interested in. And I would be amiss if I don't add the point around the topic of sustainability, right? Elephant in the room, everybody is talking about green, about carbon neutral. This is also an area where we as a bank, particularly in ASEAN, has that unique position to try to rally the ecosystem to behave and to invest and to lend and to bring consumers to live, play, and work in a sustainable way. So these themes, exciting and truly look forward.
Well, Janet, before I go to Ari, one of the biggest challenge for banks would be this very concept that banking, first we told that banking is not going to be in the branches and call center. It will be in the online. Now you're telling it will not be in the online platform. It's going to get out of you, go to somebody else. Do you think the regulation will look quite different? Is there something you want to know at the Singapore FinTech Festival, the impact on regulation?
I think it's not only about the impact on regulation. The main thing around how do we share data? How do we engender trust? How can I trust another party to be able to work with me, share the data about common customer,
sure,
and serve them well? Who's going to help us to set standards? Is it negotiation one by one? Or we really do have a framework where multiple parties, multiple countries, and we can't do it alone, can come together with a agreed set of terms that everybody can buy in and start innovating from there.
Sure.
I think that's really what
I'll come back to the data trust because I have somebody after you.
Okay.
We're going to spend time on trust. So,
Okay.
Ari, Web 3.0, Mastercard, tech company, as last time we spoke, you should be quite excited.
Absolutely, Sopnendu, great to be here. And I want to build on what Janet has just shared. If you really look at the evolution of the internet and the application race that has come in the last, I'd say, 15, 20 years, you've gone from Web 1.0, the advent of the internet, to Web 2.0, when you've got the Facebooks and the Googles and the Microsofts all have scaled. At Web 3.0, what is really exciting is that you're creating the power of open source technology on how are you going to build applications and really bringing innovation at scale, which small businesses will be able to challenge the so-called giants in the economy. I think this is a really exciting phase. And frankly, I say this with utmost humility that we are a big company, and we also believe that this is not an entitled state for us to be in. And therefore, be able to see this innovation and be able to participate. And how do you participate? Janet talked about decentralized finance and central bank digital currencies, something we are taking deep interest in. We are in the business of moving money, which is fiat currency, from point A to point B. A significant change is going to happen with CBDCs. What does it mean for us? The implications for us. We've got a virtual CBDC test environment that we've opened up for many players to participate. You know, Sopnendu, well, that the MAS CBDC Challenge, we are partnered with MAS on that journey. Our view really is that we don't have all the answers, but we do believe that there is deep embedded capabilities that have been built over the last 50 years, whether it is data governance, whether it is trust, whether it is how sharing happens, all of that, technology standards that have been globalized over a period of time that delivers higher order safety and security. We think there is a space and play for all of our assets and capabilities with many new players who are going to be out there. Our crypto startup program that enables all crypto asset players to come participate with us is being done with the utmost humility, is that we are learning as we, and hopefully as we do this, we'll be able to create value for the broader society in general.
Sure, Ari, thanks for bringing that whole CBDC challenge you're participating. And whether you are aware or not, I don't know, we just closed our participation. We had a record. I mean, this is just way beyond expectation. 50 countries are submitting proposal, more than 300 proposals to solve a retail CBDC. Talks about how much it has become part of the mainstream narrative now. People are really looking forward to it. And Mastercard indeed has a sandbox which will be part of this whole exercise. I would strongly encourage people to join the Epic sandbox and look at the Mastercard APIs, which will help you to design this future retail CBDC. But I'll come back to Ari on your on the whole green agenda. But yes, hold on to it. I'll go to Irina on the whole infrastructure piece, because Rapid is an infrastructure company.
We are.
The Web 3.0 will impact the way we design our systems, the way we think about the core infrastructure. How much of that is affecting your own thinking about the market infrastructure, which will change due to Web 3.0? I mean, you can broaden it, you can narrow it.
Sure, of course. So just like Ari said, we also don't have all the answers. We have a big vision. I think, well, actually, everyone here in this panel has some of their own versions and variations of the future state and what should we be doing. So I think the importance of having this conversation is actually having the representation of the different views. And that probably will be one of the most important things that I will be, well, as on behalf of my company, I can say that we will be looking forward at the Singapore FinTech Festival this year, making sure that it's not just the quality of the insights, and the quality has always been is extremely high. It's exceptional quality of the speakers and experts from across the industry, but also making sure that all of the different stakeholders, and this is where SFF is a very unique place, all the stakeholders are represented. Policymakers, heads of central banks, heads of banks, heads of payment schemes, infrastructure companies or payment companies like ours, fintech founders, or VCs, investors even, at some stage. Obviously, they also have to contribute to the discussion. So while all of those pieces come together, I think we can solve the biggest pain point, which in the payment space is fragmentation. I feel like that's probably the hardest challenge. There continues to be a lot of friction, and while there are amazing initiatives, such as Pay Now, connecting to FrontPay, and some of the discussions and initiatives driven by MAS, there still is a lot that has to be solved. So quality of insights, representation of the stakeholders, and I think the third thing that is extremely important is it's not just about talking about the vision, it's also about having people that can commit to the vision and take actions and, well, commit to actions right there on the spot during this conversation. So I think I've heard this quote, which I really like, is about people are often in the space, read from the same book, but rarely, seldom on the same page. So bringing everyone to the same page is important, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to.
Good. I think I think we all have in some kind of image in our brain on how it looks like, but we're all trying to discover. Hopefully by November, we'll have experts who can talk to this whole 3.0, we get things clearer. But before we go, and let's go to London and let's talk to our friend Al-Noor, who is dialing from London. And insurance company, Web 3.0 looks a good match.
Well, we've had thank you, Sopnendu. We've had a very bad year for all of us, maybe 2 years. It's impacted everybody's concerns about health, but also impacted their wealth. You know, people are unemployed, et cetera, et cetera. So that sets the backdrop. Now, when you bring Web 3.0 in, and particularly a great event like the SFF, the Singapore FinTech Festival, I think what it gives us an opportunity to do is to think about solving two significant customer pain points, right? And I'll give you an example in a minute, but the first one, I'm just going to label it as a customer as CEO, right? So today, when you got concerns about your health, etc., all you can do is go get a test. There's a whole chain of health, if you like, ecosystem, whether you start with a doctor, clinician, pharmacy, hospitals, etc. Along that pathway, right, they're not connected. So whether you talk about embedded systems, infrastructure, you know, decentralized systems, as far as the customers is concerned, and again, I'll repeat the phrase, customer is the CEO, how can they orchestrate this so it benefits them? So I think the FinTech Festival here will bring together a lot of these participants. Now, if you look at the wealth side, and at Prudential, we bring health and wealth together in Pulse. And being the founder, really what I try to do here is to adopt the customer perspective. So how can we bring these together? It allows us to get a new business model. So at present, we're kind of reactive. But if we can think about a predictive or a prevention kind of model, let me give an example. Can we use Web 3.0? So it's not just blockchain, the IoT devices with blockchain, and also get the 5G, which is needed for IoT devices, etc. Data and AI, so that we focus on the customer. So when the customer has a need, for example, is about to run out of money, or more important, about to run out of health, God forbid there's a stroke due, we can deliver the doctor to the person or the person to the doctor before they even know it's needed. And I think this gives us a huge opportunity when everybody gets together in Singapore, God willing, that we can discuss these matters. And for the first time in Web 3.0, we can actually do it without needing total consensus, meaning with decentralization and with blockchain, we can actually do these things so that the consumer, the customer, can view them as united, even if we ourselves have different business models and different ways of making money from the same chain. So as an insurance company, moving not just from protection to prevention, but also helping seamlessness across the whole chain allows us to really serve the consumer better, much, much better than we're doing today, but also allows them to accumulate wealth. Because in Asia, as you know, in most parts of the world, a health incident results in a wealth disaster. And by making sure that we have AI as your doctor before you even get to the physical doctor, but delivering the physical doctor via video during these times of crisis, and then a real one, etc. And similarly for the wealth advisory, I think we can democratize both health and wealth, but also make it a very, very high quality. So I think I'm really looking forward to people attending. I'll leave it there, Sopnendu, for any further comment.
Thanks for giving a wonderful insight from where you look the whole space. From my perspective, this year we are going to do 3 days of deep dive into Web 3.0. And what we intend to do, that day one will focus on all the business cases, what goes on top of this new tech stack. We'll go every asset class by asset class. Second day, we're going to go after understanding what it takes to build this technology. Day three, I think Al-Noor also spoke about this, okay, you can put this lovely infrastructure, even Irina, so you're speaking about it. What are the role of policymakers, infrastructure, 5G, data policies, as Janet was saying that the banking is going to get out of the banking domain and go into other domain. Are they all going to level set in terms of same regulatory obligations? The whole set of policy challenges, which we are going to debate on the day three. But there's two things we're going to look at across all the three, which is going to be core to all this discussion, which I'm going to spend next round on that, is the green part. Because now green is not a choice, it is part of the design. So we're going to ensure that whatever we build on Web 3.0, green becomes part of the design to start with. So all of you, I'll go with Janet again, reflect on the green agenda, how much you feel strongly about it, and what you want to see at the SFF on green.
You know, the topic is so large, right? I think at the end of the day, it is really ultimately how do we deliver impact? Right? Impact to the consumers. How do we ensure that consumers can make responsible choices? They have the information to live, to play, to spend, and to invest in a directed fashion with the information. And I think that's something that we will really spend time on. Right? I think the part around mobilizing resources correctly. Yeah? And this is actually why I'm really looking forward to this day three, right? Because there's so many stakeholders involved. Irina mentioned, right? There's so many stakeholders, from the companies that today produce a lot of carbon emission, to the ones that have the solutions, yes, right? To the ones that today wants to mobilize capital in a responsible manner, but yet not knowing how and where to direct these, right? I think the impact will be linked to how well we get information and how authentic this information is and how easily accessible this is made to the wide ecosystem, sure, right? And then having the common language. So if I have to say, from a UB's perspective, we ourselves own a lot of buildings. We can first commit, but beyond that, right, we want to make sure that we deploy, green finance, and we did a couple of leading green trade finance deals, sure, thanks to MAS, the GFIT, initiative. So that's the start. But there is still so much more, yes, that we need to do. Agree. And that's really, yes, how we hope that people can come together and form framework, take action, and then start from here.
Ari, before you respond, there's one data point that we just got to know recently. 80% of the green computing data is sitting with payment company. I don't know how true it is. So you have a big role to play in the whole green. So On the SFF.
So, you know, it's a commitment we take very seriously. And to give you a sense of how seriously we take this commitment, part of our executive compensation is now tied to our ESG goals. So SOPs, this is clearly hits the pocket. We are absolutely committed. And let me give you a sense of, there are big things we do, and then there are little things. And not that the big one is greater than the smaller things you do. So I'll give you a sense is, our Priceless Coalition partnership has over 60 partners. We have committed to plant 100 million trees over the course of the next few years. And I'm including within the 100 million is trees saved is also a tree planted, right? So you don't necessarily have to plant 100 million, but what are you doing to save trees? We are moving a target of 100% renewable energy to power all our data centers and our offices and what have you, right? We are looking at green certified buildings across the board. We're at the Duo Tower here in Singapore, which is again a green certified building. So those are the choices that we are making. I would also add is that we are also this is very much part of the action plan, is sustainability and social development. Our commitments towards small businesses. I think Al-Noor talked about the digital divide and the societal divide that the COVID period has caused. We've committed over $250 million to small businesses in the coming years. We have taken our target on financial inclusion, which was 500 million in the first 5 years of that target. And just last year, we've doubled down for another 500 million consumers to be brought on into the digital economy. And coupled with that, 50 million, what we call small businesses, will be digitized and brought into the digital economy. Again, this is our effort to make sure that we are driving for
so we're going to see some of this
society.
So we're going to see some of this being shared at the SFF.
Absolutely, most definitely.
Good. This time the question is not for Rapid, where you work for, but what the association perspective. I think you're going to bring the globally other association together, hopefully at the SFF. Are you going to see expecting from your side as an association perspective, a lot of discussion around green agenda? Is that something?
So personally, how I like to look at this question is actually not from the green angle, but from the responsible angle. I think responsible business in general and sustainable business includes many different things. And green carbon emissions is one aspect of it. I feel that there probably is a little bit more beyond that. So what Ari's just talked about providing services to the underrepresented or underserviced types of segments, but also doing it in a way that is sustainable for the business, not just burning, the money, the VC money. It's not for the point of, CSR. It's something that should be driving value and creating value for actually all the different stakeholders. So I think that is probably the topic that I feel very connected to. How do we make sure that we evolve and innovate in a sustainable and long-term way with responsible living, I guess, responsible business building in mind?
Good. Well, we have a couple of minutes left. I'll go to Al-Noor. Al-Noor, you know what? You talk about, let's not talk green for a moment. Let's talk about with you responsible, sustainable part of the whole discussion around pension plans, sustainable insurance plan. Do you expect that this year SFF, we should actually be a little more bolder and go into those big unfinished or unmet agenda around pension plans, microinsurance, is something you will feel excited about?
I think very much. Look, I think people have suffered greatly, and I think we've discovered how much of society depends on little or no savings, right? And both ends, pensions, which you refer to, but also people have no savings to start with. How will they get pensions other than obviously Singapore is a fantastic scheme and so on. I think we should explore it.
Sure.
And frankly, even though on the green side, even though you didn't ask me that question, consumers will select companies now based on what they perceive as the greater good agenda. So I would call it doing well by doing good. It's actually part of the design we all have to have in our companies now. But I think so pensions will be increasingly a problem with the aging society. You're dead right to hit it. Even China is beginning to explore this now. And at the other end of the scale, we better start youngsters with savings because they've got no hope to get on the housing ladder. So all of those things are interrelated. If the financial system has the degree of friction it does now, we'll doom both our kids as well as our grandparents or parents, depending on who you are, obviously. And I think both ends is really bad for society.
Thank you. Well, we are up on the time. We'll come back again and talk at the SFF 2021. Personally, I would say my favorite would be a little bit of a cryptocurrency fun there. And I hope by the time we'll find exciting solution on the whole retail bank digital currency, the AI challenge going out. So we're all looking for a great gathering, and hopefully you will be surprised with kind of thing we're going to bring at this year SFF. And watch out, and we'll be constantly posting you updates around SFF and some new ideas being floated. Watch out the space, and we all look forward you to join us at the SFF 2021 in the month of November. See you soon.